And they continue to do it year after year after year, knowing that several hundred people are gonna die out there again because of their strategy, which is to force the migration into the deadliest areas of the desert, intentionally. So the question came to us again in the late '90s when that border enforcement strategy started to funnel the major migration right through the Tucson sector. What's our responsibility as a faith community? Yeah. And so we pulled together the folks who've been involved in the sanctuary movement in the '80s and said, well, there's the question again. And we were a really bright group. Took us 4 hours to figure out, if most people are dying out there from dehydration and heat stroke, we ought to put water out in the desert. And so we formed an organization called Humane Borders that puts water stations out there. And then once that was going good, we formed an organization called Samaritans that proactively puts four-wheel drives out every day from Tucson to proactively search for migrants who need our help. And then 2 years later, we formed an organization called No More Deaths that puts camps out in the desert with volunteers there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And we established we bought a war surplus hospital tent from the Iraq War and established a medical clinic right out there in the desert so we can provide emergency medical care right in the desert. And with very skilled volunteers can do some pretty effective stuff out there. And we do water drops on the migrant trails, and we publish reports about the government's violations of human rights, not only in the border enforcement strategy, but about the treatment of migrants in detention. We just issued a report last December called Shakedown about how the government steals the money of migrants that they're required by law to return to them. When they're deported, they give them checks on United States banks that can't be cashed in Mexico, or most egregiously, they give them debit cards on United States banks for the amount of money they had when they were picked up, which can't be used in Mexico, of course. And then where the money goes, who knows? So there are two points to this. One is to try and confound, however we can, that deadly border enforcement strategy out in the desert by trying to save as many lives of migrants as we can and to push the envelope as far as we can. And secondly, to hold the government accountable for their violations of human rights. And as you all know, we moved here, as you guys have moved earlier, in Boston, to a public resistance strategy by declaring sanctuary for migrants who've been ordered deported. So that's kind of where we are, and that whole systemic resistance movement, both in the desert and here in Tucson, is anchored in faith communities again.